Guramagat Cahirlock, and thank you, Cahirlock, for giving time to the House this morning to debate this commencement matter. The commencement matter basically calls for action from the Minister for Finance to increase the affordability and the supply of housing for our citizens by introducing tax measures that will address the activities of private investment funds in the housing market. It specifically calls on the Minister for Finance to end tax incentives for investment funds to wholesale purchase first-time buyers' homes and to apply financial penalty to properties that are left vacant for more than 6 months in areas of significant housing need. Cahirlock, you know I've raised this issue in the Seanad previously, and I've discussed it both with the Minister for Housing and the Minister for Finance, and what is required is an all-of-government response. Since this government was formed, there has been a historic budget, a housing budget approved, 3.3 billion in terms of a housing budget. There is historic legislation that will have the state take a lead in the provision of affordable housing on state-owned lands, affordable housing both to purchase and to rent, that will provide affordability and security of tenure for our citizens. This is all very welcome, along with the banning of co-living, the commitment to end the SHD process and to review the build-to-rent model. But Minister, at the same time as government is taking all of this action to increase the supply of affordable homes and to improve the affordability and the security of tenure for our citizens, we are being undermined, and the state is being undermined by the activity of private investment funds. Private investment funds that are spending tens of millions a week, outbidding, outspending and gazumping first-time buyers, families, single people, approved housing bodies and indeed the State Minister. They've got very deep pockets, and there is a room for private investment obviously in every market, but we have a housing crisis, Minister, and you are aware of that, and the government is too, and all of the efforts that we're making are being undermined then when private investment firms come in and wholesale purchase new build homes that were designed and were intended for homeowners. So, Minister, what I am urging is that the Minister for Finance will take action. They follow the money, we must follow the money too, government must follow the money. I would ask, Minister, that the Minister for Finance will put a significant tax on the bulk purchase of new build homes, will introduce a tax on vacant homes that are left vacant for more than 6 months in areas of high pressure and high demand for housing. But I think we need to go beyond that, and Minister, some of these measures can be dealt with from planning, and I know the Minister for Housing has committed to do that, but the planning changes will only affect new developments. What we also need now is action in terms of improving the security of tenure for renters, reviewing the rent pressure zones, which I know the Minister and the Government has agreed to do, strengthening those rent pressure zones, and leveraging the State's position, the State's ability to fund the provision of affordable homes both to purchase on rent on our state-owned lands. We must, as a government, prioritise the provision of the affordable homes for our citizens, and we must take action to stop the undermining of all of that investment by private investment funds who can outbid, outspend and gazump the state and homeowners, would-be homeowners. Guramagat.
Thank you, Senator. Minister Fleming, you have 4 minutes to respond.
Thank you, Cahirlock, and I want to thank Senator Mary Fitzpatrick for raising this issue, which is a matter I think that everybody will understand and appreciate, especially in light of activities in the marketplace that we have seen in recent times. The Government is committed to improving supply of housing and affordability for first-time buyers and has brought forward significant measures already in the Affordable Housing Bill 2021 and the Land Development Agency Bill 2021. These measures stand as part of the overall housing strategy, which provides the highest ever budget for housing in the history of the state at 3.3 billion to support social housing needs and 28,500 additional households. I am aware of the recent purchase of 2 housing estates by an institutional investor in an area that would normally have been appropriate to first-time or second-time individual purchasers. In the context of the unprecedented low interest rate environment globally, international investment in property is now increasing. While this increased investment may benefit tenants through improved choice and price moderation, it is not intended that institutional purchasers should be in competition with ordinary households to purchase completed turnkey developments. This situation illustrates the complexity of the property market, as housing policy must balance the needs of all tenures: private ownership, affordable or cost rental, or social housing, or the private rented sector. Investment funds are a long-term presence in the Irish market, as they are in all other markets, and this has been acknowledged by the Senator. In recent Finance Acts, the Minister of Finance has made significant changes to the taxation of institutional investors in Irish property to ensure that appropriate tax is collected. As with investment funds generally, tax occurs primarily at the level of the investor rather than in the fund. In the case of both the Irish Real Estate Funds, IREFs as they are known, and the Real Estate Investment Trust Companies, or EITS as they are known, withholding taxes apply on distributions to investors to ensure collection of tax by the Revenue Commissioners. The tax treatment of these investment vehicles is kept under review, most recently in the 2019 analysis produced for the Tax Strategy Group. This led to the introduction of additional anti-avoidance measures in the Finance Act 2019, aimed at ensuring that the regimes operate as intended and to prevent the avoidance of tax on property profits. Minister Donoghue and Minister O'Brien are currently working together to assess the role of institutional investors in the market and to identify targeted solutions to ensure such investment is directed to increasing overall supply within the housing market and reduce the price pressures for both tenants and owner-occupiers. And I think, as the Senator and most people will be aware, this topic is a major item for discussion at the government meeting today, and both ministers will be having a discussion with all Cabinet colleagues with a view to making sure we come forward with proposals to deal with this matter in the immediate future. As regards the vacant property tax, in 2018 an independent report was commissioned by the Department of Finance and before the Dáil to investigate vacancy levels in further detail. The report found that vacancy rate within rent pressure zones, excluding holiday homes, was approximately 6%, but that most of these were short-term to medium-term, with a low level of long-term vacancies, normally under 3% for Dublin, for example. In addition, many of these properties are vacant long-term for reasons of dilapidation or because the owner is in a nursing home. The report estimated the rate of habitable properties which are vacant long-term to be only in the region of about 1% in rent pressure zones. On that basis, the consultants did not recommend the introduction of a residential vacant property tax, as they did not believe it would be an effective response to deal with the housing shortages. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Fitzpatrick, you have 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, Gurmagad, Minister, for your response, and I do acknowledge that the Government and Cabinet is meeting today and that this item is on the Cabinet's agenda and will be addressed. But Minister, can I just say, I think we all must remind ourselves what the purpose of tax is. The purpose of tax is to raise income to invest in essential community services and supports. In this instance, the tax is undermining the state's investment. The tax is encouraging activity that is undermining our state's investment in the provision of secure and affordable homes. So, Minister, I urge you to urge the Government and all members of the Government to review the tax arrangements for private investment firms that is encouraging them to come in and wholesale purchase new build homes that were intended or should have been intended for homeowners. In terms of the vacant tax, I accept the response and the review which took place, but specifically what I'm calling for is a tax on vacant properties that are left vacant in high pressure zones that are new builds. I am not suggesting that we go after taxing the families and elderly people who are in nursing homes. But there is a significant issue, particularly here in the city, right here actually in the Docklands, where there are new build properties that are lying vacant, and that should be available for people who are desperately in need of housing. So I thank you, Minister, for coming to the House today and addressing this issue, but urgent action is required because people under 35 have been most impacted by the pandemic from a financial perspective, and they are most oppressed by the housing crisis. Those people deserve a home no more than you and I did. They deserve an opportunity, and they need to believe that the Government is committed to tackling this challenge and to supporting them to have a secure and affordable home. Gurmagad, Minister.
Thank you, Senator. Minister, you have 1 minute.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. And I just want to deal very briefly with the taxation situation because that has been mentioned. REITs, which I mentioned earlier, are companies and they are obliged under the legislation to distribute 85% of their earnings every year, and there is a standard 25% withholding tax on that. So I will stress that is twice the rate of corporation tax if they were to pay it as a company. Some people think these companies should be paying this tax, but in fact the actual investor pays the tax at a rate twice the corporation tax rate of 25%. In relation to the IREFs, these are funds, not limited companies, and we changed the rules in relation to their tax situation in 2019, and as a result of that, in the 2020 filings by the Revenue Commissioner, there's a tax collection rate of 18.5%, which is very close to the standard withholding tax of 20%. So I take on board everything the Senator said in relation to the vacant properties, in relation to organisations that have no role funding particular projects coming in at the very end of the day when they're fully built and gazumping families from purchasing houses that they need. Thank you.